you liked. So we'll keep an eye out on that. But what about the power sector? That is a theme you've been extremely bullish on. Let's narrow it down a little bit. If you want, you could share us some names as well in terms of what you'll hold in the fund. But how do you play this theme? Because there'll be a lot of ways to play it. Please go ahead.
Sure. See, overall, across the power demand supply mismatch, the story is very well known. But what kind of plays you want to do? You don't want to direct power generators, or you want the transmission and distribution. So we prefer the transmission and distribution names. Multiple MNCs are out there, largely three. And again, in terms of their specialization, right, they are going to be there over the kind of order book. More than 1 lakh crore is still expected to come through. We're largely bullish on that space, HVDC transmission lines. Now, what is happening in the sector is the kind of solar power and the grid connectivity, right? We recently saw how the disconnection happened in Spain with too much of emphasis on renewables. So all these kind of one-time impacts have to be reduced only with HVDC lines. So our expectation is the larger order books for some of these HVDC companies is going to become stronger. They're expensive, but they'll continue to remain expensive in the medium term.
What's the cash that you're holding? And incrementally, in the last 1 month, where have you deployed the money that you've got?
So incrementally, we have started deploying in some of the PVC pipe names. We believe the sector has broadly bottomed out. So if you see the past 10 years average for PVC resins, right, has been closer to 72. Broadly, now that has gone down because of the Chinese dumping that came down to 65, 66. In the past 1 month, there have been 3 price hikes that have happened. So once it was 1.5 rupees, the second time it was closer to 1 rupee. Again, last year, we saw the kind of volumes the management were expecting across the names didn't come through, largely because of the government capex. Now, this year, monsoon is going to be better, plus your government capex is going to be better. So volumes plus price, both these impacts will start throwing the numbers for the PVC segment now.
Do you want to name some names? Is it Astral, Phenolex? I mean, with the appropriate disclosure, or is it the entire sector which is going to do well from here on?
Our views across the sector, we like all the names.
You like all the names, okay. Anything else that you've put to work in terms of further deployment, in terms of further buys?
So our view is even IT as a sector, which we were a little bit underweight over the last 1 year. We are getting incrementally positive. So when we are doing a channel checks, we are meeting a lot of ground level people. We are seeing that the kind of pessimism that has been built in for the IT, probably that is not the case. The numbers will come through. It will be slightly better. So we are getting incrementally positive on the IT sector now.
Cap, mid-cap IT, what would the bias be?
So across our mid-cap and small-cap funds, we are preferring the mid-cap, small-cap names. That is a larger bias. But in the meantime, even for the larger names, the kind of pessimism is built in. We believe there is some kind of an opportunity in the large caps as well at this point of time.
Okay, all right, Rahul, I wanted to ask you about the biggest and the hottest theme in the last 45 days, defense. You didn't like that space, right? Did you all manage to finally get in? Or is that the place that, in fact, there is obviously a big runway and there's plenty of hope in terms of penetration, say, in the next 10 years, but valuations are too expensive for your liking?
Absolutely. The valuations are very, very uncomfortable for us to start kind of adding those names. But we have some pseudo defense names that we had in our portfolio that has helped us sail through this kind of an environment.
Okay, all right, Rahul, appreciate you joining in and filling us in with all of those details and all of the themes. But if you want to tell us, leave us with one comment on the headline index. Do you think it'll outbeat fixed returns by the end of this year, from year on, post the pullback we've seen?
Yes, I believe we'll have a positive outperformance against the other asset classes.
Okay, all right. So then you're optimistic that the Nifty trends even higher from here on. Got that, Rahul. Appreciate you joining in. And thanks a lot for giving us all those themes. Power, real estate, banks, and IT is something that Rahul likes. Well, on the flip side, the theme that he doesn't like too much is the real estate pack as well. Well, we have LIC. There's some continuity, I think, that's coming out there. Financial Services Bureau has recommended Mr. Doraiswamy as the MD and CEO of LIC. A bit of a perk up on that stock. It's still holding with a gain of close to around 2% or thereabouts.
Okay.
Okay, all right. I'll tell you what. We'll slip into a short break. We'll come back We'll continue to focus on markets. We'll also address individual stocks that are moving around. Welcome back. Well, markets continue to hold with gains of around 40 to around 45 points. So let's see how it goes from here on. But let's get in Mitesh Thakkar. Mitesh, you've got a fresh couple of picks for us?
Yeah. So I have BTST calls on PI Industry. I think that's a stock, which is near the day's high. So we will take BTST with the stock just below levels of 39.60 for targets of around 4,000. The other one which I liked is Biocon, which can be taken as a BTST with the stock below 351 for targets of 359.
Okay, all right, got that. Mitesh, thanks very much for all your advice through the day today. You have a good afternoon, and we'll connect again tomorrow. By the way, those are announcements coming in from the cabinet meeting. Okay, a railway project getting approved in Bellary, Chikjajur, if I got the pronunciations correct. It's a large one, 3,300 crores of a project getting approved. We know the railway stocks have been very excited. Not quite sure if it's going to impact any of the listed players or not, but those are some initial announcements that are coming in from the cabinet meeting. As we wait by and get more of those details, let's go back and revisit the big story, the reason why Alco-Bev stocks are not quite feeling the high this afternoon. Most of them, look at the cuts, still between 4% to 6.5% down on most of them. That's because Maharashtra has decided to sharply increase the excise duty on spirits. Manglam's here. Manglam, break it down for us.
Well, the first time there has been an increase in excise duty in Maharashtra all the way back since 2011, the biggest one that we've seen. And that's definitely not gone down well with the names like United Spirits, Radico Khaitan and Allied Blenders. Why is that? Because remember, recently they were hoping for some sort of improvement in their costing, and that's largely because of the UK-India free trade agreement. But that's not the case, because the state's taken away what the centre had given them. Maharashtra has gone ahead and increased duty on IMFL, Indian-made foreign liquor, from 3 times to cost of production to 4.5 times the cost of production, which is basically a near 50% jump if you look at it that way. The other thing that you're looking at is that country liquor, there has been a duty increase, but that's just 14%, not as much as foreign liquor. The third part is they've introduced a new section for Maharashtra-made liquor. This is basically grain-based foreign liquor, which is being produced in Maharashtra itself. So all the companies which produce in Maharashtra will now have to reapply for this category, and as a result of which they would stand to benefit. By how much will they benefit? The new revised minimum prices for country liquor, Maharashtra-made liquor, foreign liquor are all up for you on the screen. 80 rupees for country liquor, going all the way up to 360 rupees for a premium foreign brand. Maharashtra-made is about 150, whereas IMFL, the minimum price that it can be sold at for a 180 ml tipple is close to around 205 rupees. As a result of which, we've seen a gash on both United Spirits, Radico and Allied Blenders. Initial estimates suggest that 20 to 22% of United Spirits sales come in from Maharashtra. So the premium end definitely facing the heat. Radico Khaitan as well, 7 to 8% cut. Analysts expect this could be an EPS cut of 6 to 8% on United Spirits and about 2 to 3% on Radico Khaitan. But not all is lost, because 3 stocks in particular are doing extremely well. Let's look at GM Breweries. That's higher in high teens, and that's largely because the street expects them to benefit because of the introduction of the Maharashtra-made liquor category and the lower rise that we've seen in country liquor. So these 2 factors doing well for GM Breweries. They will have to re-register brands with the state, but how long will that take? And by then, do the others go ahead and register as well or not is the big question. But until then, they stand to benefit. The second part, United Breweries, not falling as much. In fact, for a brief part, was also in the green. That's because no increase in duty on beer. And more importantly, the expectation is that those who are having premium spirits will now shift to premium beer. And that itself is what United Breweries' own strategy was as well, premiumization. So that should work for them. And the third thing that we're looking at is Sula. That's again a big gainer in today's trading session, because wine is not mentioned in the excise duty increase. Secondly, Maharashtra is the largest producer of wine in the country. And thirdly, Sula as a stock before this had fallen about 40% from its highs. Last 4 quarters, not much had happened. So maybe what is spirits loss could perhaps be the gain for beer, country liquor and wine. All of them stand to benefit today.
Okay, all right, got that. Thanks very much for that, Mangalam. Those are the key reasons why some of those stocks have been, under pressure today. That's important news that's coming in. Is India going to be making the Su-57? Well, from the looks of it, I think this is news that Parikshit is picking up, and we'll try and have him on in just a bit. So the request for proposal for the Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft program is to be issued next week. So we were supposed to move to the 5th gen of these aircraft, and the Su-57 is supposed to be one of the best-in-class stealth fighters with superior technology, the ability to go undetected, within radar systems, lesser heat signature, so on and so forth. So it seems that conversations are underway, and the government could be considering a collaboration with Russia. And let's see, the question is whether these fighters will be made in India or not. Let's pull up the HAL stock, because, of course, Hindustan Aeronautics has been making the Su-30 fighters for many, many years. We've got, let's get HAL up and see if there's some excitement showing up on the stock. Not quite. But Parikshit's with us. Parikshit, this could be a big moment. So Su-57 soon?
Well, a final proposal is yet to be made and cleared by the government. Currently, we believe that there are multiple options being considered by the government in terms of plugging the gaps in our fighter jet fleet. The number one point that we're going to see some action on very soon is the Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft program. Recently, the government had modified the execution model, come up with a new model whereby foreign players, domestic players will be allowed to participate, and they will also be able to partner with the PSUs like HAL to bid for the AMCA program. Now, a request for a proposal, inviting proposals from the industry for this fighter jet program to make them in India is going to be issued later next week. And 15 days within that period, we will see the pre-bids, a pre-bid meeting also taking place where the industry will be called for a meeting. And within 45 days or so, bids may also be called for by the government. Having said that, the short-term measure that the government is considering, because having an AMCA program means almost 10, 15 years of development, you also need to plug the gaps immediately. So the option is to also consider acquiring Su-57 fighter jets, 5th generation fighter jets from Russia, acquire them in a flyaway condition and also make them in India. Now, this is a proposal that the Russian government has given to the Air Force. It is under consideration. If approved, then the government will come up with a proposal and will start working on talks with the Russian government. Early stages, but it seems that the government would be keen on this, considering there is already an existing HAL line making Su-30 fighter jets. Then you also have the 5th generation fighter engine development program that is ongoing, and the government is considering proposals from both Safran, which is a French company, and Rolls-Royce for manufacturing 5th generation fighter engines in India. Now, these are the only two companies which have qualified as per the criteria to give 100% technology transfer and IP transfer as well. Now, as far as collaboration with the United States goes, no proposal right now for acquiring F-35s is under consideration. There is also a larger plan to improve our air defense systems. The S-400s performed very well for the government during Operation Sindoor. We've got 3 units of S-400, 2 more are likely to be delivered by next year, and the plan is to possibly consider acquiring at least 1 or 2 more units of the S-400 beyond the current timelines. And the Defense Acquisition Council could very soon also take up a proposal for acquiring quick reaction surface-to-air missiles for the Indian Army. This weapon platform could be acquired, and the acquisition could be worth at least 30,000 crore, and this would be a big boost for the domestic industry.
Oh, absolutely, Pariksha, that's very, very comprehensive. So you answered my second question. I was wondering what happens to the F-35. So what you're picking up is that there's no proposal to go to the Americans now to get them. So just to wrap this up in full context for our viewers, so what you're saying is that we could be looking at buying the Su-57s, some of them in fly-ready conditions, and eventually look at making them in India. And this would be in addition to the procurement of additional Rafale aircraft as well, is it?
Yes, just a few months back, and we had interviewed the Defense Secretary on this, Surbhi. The Defense Secretary had said that they have submitted a report to meet the gaps and the needs of the Air Force. The Air Force Chief has been speaking about how we need many more squadrons in the Air Force, and there is an aging fleet issue as well. So there was a plan in terms of near-term measures, medium-term measures, and long-term measures that were recommended. So what you see right now is a part of that larger exercise. The Rafale fighters, we already have Rafale fighters for the Air Force, and there is a supply chain, a domestic supply chain also, which is now coming up. The Rafale marine aircraft are also being acquired, and the reason why that has happened is because the Navy needed them, and there is already a Rafale base in the country. Now, we need 5th generation fighter jets fast. We can't wait for 10 years also. So what acquiring them from Russia can do is we can possibly get them in a shorter span of time. And eventually the plan would be to also make them in India. And Russia is willing to offer that technology, offer such a collaboration. And considering that you have a long history of collaboration with Russia on the Su-30, HAL has a line in Nasik. So there is a complementarity which you would like to leverage. For the long term, you would also need Atmanirbharta in engine manufacturing. So that's a separate program for the 5th generation fighter jet. We need those fighter engines. Safran and Rolls-Royce are willing to give you 100% technology transfer. So they are being considered. Now, as a long-term measure, India needs its own advanced medium combat aircraft program, or the 5th generation fighter jet program. Which is being developed indigenously. Till now, DRDO, HAL were working on it, but you need now foreign partners to come in, collaborate with Indian private firms, collaborate with PSUs, and then come up with a strong program, but it's got a long gestation period. So probably the Su-57 program will be a early harvest, so to say, or the near-term measures that the Indian government needs to take.
Absolutely, got that. Thank you for that, well-rounded, comprehensive take, Parikshit. Very, very important steps when it comes to India's fighter capability. And also the engines have been it's quite interesting because you know that those GE engines have been delayed pretty much forever. And without the engines, you can't have the jets. So if you want to make in India, I guess the eventual goal is to make the engines as well. And as Parikshit says, there's talk of technology transfer with Rolls-Royce now, among others.
Interesting developments. But for now, they're looking to plug the gap by
now,
and then make in India eventually over the next decade. Let's move on now and talk about Oil India. That's in focus. This is a vendor's note. Sudarshan joins in with the details. Sudarshan.
So today we are seeing an all-round gain in the oil and gas space, and also Oil India is higher, up more than 6% on the back of positive brokerage note that today Avendus Spark has initiated coverage on the stock with a buy call, and target has given is of rupees 630. That is an upside of more than 40% from current levels if you calculate. Now it says that over the next 3 years, it's predicting that company might see earnings growth of more than 80%, and that would be entirely led by increase in volumes aided by Numaligarh refinery, which might see an increase in the capacity over next 3 years. Also, Numaligarh refinery project is expected to be completed by 2025 end, and it will start contributing to earnings of the company, that is Oil India, by FY27. Some of the other catalysts that it has mentioned is, first, infra projects provide better visibility on production growth. Also, new well gas pricing could be an added positive. So as per Avendus Spark, the recent correction that we have seen in commodities can be a good entry point as far as Oil India is concerned.
Okay, that's on Oil India, but so also a word on OMCs. I mean, in a market which is overall dull, we've seen some green on OMC stocks. Anything specific here?
So all three oil marketing companies, IOC, BPCL and HPCL, are seeing buying in today's trade up in the range of 3 to 4%. Yesterday, there was US oil body, which is known as Energy Information Administration, has released short-term outlook that is for up to 2026. And it believes that in the short term, crude oil might move lower, and that can happen because of rising global oil inventories. Now, by the end of 2025, it expects that Brent crude might fall to $61, and by 2026, it might fall further and can settle around the levels of $59 to $60 per barrel. If you remember, last month, also in the month of May, the average Brent crude price was $64 per barrel, and if you compare against April, it was down $4. But in the last few sessions, we have seen a minor increase. But nevertheless, if you take a look at the short-term outlook, it's expecting a fall in the crude price.
Okay, all right, got that. Sudarshan, thanks very much for all the updates. We do have to take a quick break on that note. But, as we take the break, let's tell you about some programming developments as well. The good news for our viewers is that India's business news leader is just a click away. Introducing CNBC-TV18's all-new app. Get instant access to breaking news, in-depth articles, and financial world updates at your fingertips. You can download the app from the Apple Store or from Google Play, or you can just scan the code on your screens.
What percentage of people you think die, Shireen, with regrets in their hearts?
A very large percentage.
So this risk of failure, fear of failure, is the one that makes people die with regret. And the only way to live is to live like an entrepreneur. Nature wants you to do that.
What would you consider today your highest conviction bet?
The abiding faith that India's time had come.
What is holding us back?
We prefer to be slow rather than fast. That's how we are a chalta hai country and not a daudta hai country.
The lack of speed would be, if you were to IPO India today, that would be on the risk factor side in the DRHP, right?
I wouldn't IPO.
You wouldn't IPO?
But to IPO, I must have a new story.
You have a special place in your heart for Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. What have you taken from them that continues to guide and shape how you think today?
Understanding of balance sheet, because balance sheet is accumulation of good and bad.
What, to your mind, is your leadership language?
So the leader or a CEO has two roles, one of a mother, one of a captain. In the Infosys journey, not from public, but much earlier, right? Mr. Murthy was a mother.
How do you find India positioned in this mix today?
We have a resilience, we have a stability, we have a wisdom of our own. But we have a long break. stop that.
इंटरवल थोड़ा लंबा हो गया.
बहुत लंबा हो जाता है.
Welcome back. Well, the markets are holding with a mild gain. The broader markets, actually, you have the mid-cap indexes in the red, but still more number of stocks advancing than declining. So you take heart from that fact. Amrish Palika is with us. Hi, Amrish. Good to see you in. Give us that one stock that you're tracking.
Nigel, the stock which I'm tracking and recommending today is Voltas, a leader in cooling and refrigeration products, a Tata Group company. In room ACs, they are the leaders with about 19% market share, have both the segments B2C and B2B. And Voltas Beko is an international JV which is expanding fast in the home appliances market. And they have done backward integration and got PLI benefits. And if you look at the projects business, there's a major turnaround in FY25 with a 169 crore profit as compared to a 328 crore loss in FY24. And they have a robust order book of about 6,500 crores. So a strong visibility, at least in the medium term. And overall, if you look at FY25, it saw the highest profits till date, nearly 3.5x of what they saw in FY24. And at least from a short-term angle, the weather forecast for North India is that the heat wave would extend a bit longer. So this is, again, a minor positive for all the air conditioning and refrigeration companies, at least in the short run. So if you're talking of FY27 EPS, I'm expecting about 38. And with that, my target price works out to about 1710.
Okay, so that's a view on Voltas. Amrish got that. Just talking about some of the, these Alcobev stocks, we've been discussing them quite a bit because of this Maharashtra duty hike impact. Right. Would you use the dip to buy, Amrish, or would you stay away?
No, I think I'll wait for a while because this just, I think, the beginning of a dip, especially when you're talking of the IMFL manufacturers. At the same time, I really don't know as to why the breweries and the wine manufacturing companies have shot up. I mean, it's possible that it's moved up as a since there was a relief, since it was not really taxed. And there's another school of thought which feels that there'll be consumer shift from IMFL to beer and wine, which I don't think is practically possible. I mean, a small quantity, yes, but not a major shift. If you look at the overall scenario, Maharashtra contributes about 12% of the IMFL sales all India. And if you look at specific companies like United Spirits, I think it's anywhere between about 20 to 24%. So United Spirits would be hit decently badly. So I still feel a further dip from here. I mean, I'll not be surprised if we see another possibly 10 to 12% fall in United Spirits. Maybe at those levels, if you're looking at a much longer term, could look at buying. Because whatever said and done, these taxes on cigarettes and liquor, it has an effect from short to medium term. And if you look at the longer term, things normalize. So from that point of view, at lower levels, I could buy United Spirits. But like I said, either 10 to 12% sort of a correction from here.
Amrish, what are we missing in VIP Limited today? You know, we were just discussing earlier, Q4 numbers were muted, but the stock is up, and I believe there was a rating downgrade too. Yeah, so a negative assessment from a rating agency too. Stock is up 10% on large volumes. Have you heard anything?
I mean, I missed the...
VIP Limited.
No, I really don't track it very closely, so it's a bit difficult for me to really comment on this.
Got that. Oil India is another big mover, and Wockhardt. Wockhardt now locked in an upper circuit, 19% up.
Yeah, I think after a decent amount of time, we have seen this sort of a move in Wockhardt. So I think it can sustain the momentum for a while longer. Possibly we could see another 12 to 15% sort of a move from here.
Okay. All right. So that's a take on some of these pharma stocks. Many of them actually. Newland Laboratories, Natco, Strides, Suven Life Sciences. A big move building up in pharma, and of course Wockhardt is right at the forefront. 19% up on Wockhardt. Some more names. I mean, today is a listless day otherwise for the broader markets. Look at Lead Travenues Tech. That's Ixigo. Up 7%. VIP is up about 10 to 11%. So the market's moving through, trying to find new mid-cap leaders, I guess. Well,
that's right. Amrish, very quickly, if you have any view on Vedanta or Hindustan Zinc, it appears there's a bit of a pair trade going out there. Vedanta is virtually at the high point of the day. Hindustan Zinc is lower, but Hindustan Zinc actually has been the big mover, and liquidity is very, very less out there. But there's a big open interest build up on Hindustan Zinc. You're tracking any of these two?
Yeah, in fact, I tracked both of them, and I have a buy call on both of them. And I think Hindustan Zinc clearly is moving up because of the silver component, because close to about 40% of the profits come from the silver business. And I think, the way the silver prices have gone up, I think that is contributing to Hindustan Zinc. Vedanta, I think clearly the play is on the demerger. I think that's much closer than what it was earlier. And that would be a wealth creator for the shareholders. So I think Vedanta can still move further from here. In fact, I had a price target of about 520 for Vedanta, pre-merger.
By the way, all the oil marketing companies are on fire today. BPCL has now moved up close to about 4.5%. Pull up HPCL, IOC. And Sudarshan was earlier telling us that the EIA, that's the Energy Information Administration, have released their crude outlook. And they're basically saying that crude prices are likely to fall. And that's the reason why oil marketing companies are higher. So they're saying the average Brent crude price in the month of May was $64 per barrel. By the end of 2025, it's expected to fall to $61 per barrel, according to EIA. And in 2026, that's next year, it's seen further moderation expected to $59 per barrel. So look at that, BPCL, 4.5% up.
Yeah, big moves on some of those oil marketing stocks for sure. On mid-caps, today was one of the days where there was a lot of profit taking. So let me talk about some of the ones that have lost ground. Alcobevs, we've been seeing that throughout. United Spirits about 6.5% lower. Allied Blenders, and of course Radico Khaitan also ending with a cut of almost 3.5%. ICX was the other casualty of the day, down about 8% as the talks of market coupling have resurfaced. A couple of financial names weak. I mean, this is beyond lending financials. ICICI Lombard, Aditya Birla Sun Life, AMC on the weaker side, and BSE, of course, let's not forget BSE, was down quite a bit as there's concern about those F&O volumes, whether they're drying up. So that's where a lot of the profit taking was. Even defense names, Garden Reach, Shipbuilders, for instance, losing about 3.5%. So that's where the weakness was. But then, like we've been pointing out, Pharma really stood out. Big Pharma rally in the mid and small caps today. So Wockhardt, Newland Laboratories, Natco Pharma, Suven Life Sciences, many of these stocks up between 10 to 20%. Big moves in some of these names.
Just rounding up the large cap action then. IT on the front foot. HCL Tech top gainer, 3% up. Infi, Wipro, Tech Mahindra up close to about 2%. Reliance Industries, that heavyweight, did well. closing at 1450. ICICI Bank, after 2 days of losses, rebounded today. And a couple of these two-wheelers, Bajaj Auto and Hero MotoCorp, are riding in top gear, 1% up. So outperformance seen by some of these two-wheelers. On the way down, Shriram Finance came in for profit booking, and weakness seen in Power Grid, BEL, Adani Enterprises, Tata Consumer. Well, that brings us to a close on this edition of Closing Bell. Don't go anywhere. On the other side is Markets Forward.